Welcome to ProfileTree. This is a new series we're going to be starting where we go through Wix, how you can build your own website, manage a store online, and be able to get yourself up and running with social media and integrations into Google Ads and AdSense online. So stay tuned, find out more about how we're going to build a website, and over the series of the next couple of videos, we're going to look at detail on how you can get started and build a website in a very quick amount of time. In this video today, we're going to look at some basic steps of getting started with Wix, how to set up a Wix website, and then we're going to look at today how to use the Wix ADI, Artificial Design Intelligence, and what does the ADI really mean? What does it do? How do you use it? And how can you use it for your business? We're also going to discuss some key sections of Wix. That's going to look at search engine optimization, booking systems, setting up your new website, getting a domain, and even look further into how Wix actually works under the hood and how you can use it for your business. So the first thing we're going to do today is to go to Wix.com. Now Wix is a fantastic tool that you may or may not have heard of before. For those that are wanting to get a website online today, whether it's for your business, a hobby, or maybe you just want to try something new, Wix is a fantastic place to start. But it's also not somewhere to look down upon. In the past, it might have seen as that DIY option. So for those that are maybe experienced, maybe you have a website already, it's always been that kind of place of, oh, I have a website and I'm using WordPress or I'm using Shopify and it's not for me. Well, I want to show you today how Wix can be for you, whether you're just getting started, you're a complete novice, a beginner, or if you're experienced and you have a website already, why Wix might be the perfect option for you. And I like to refer to Wix as that one-stop shop. It's got everything you need to be able to create, grow your business online, and develop your own resources to learn even more. So certainly go to Wix.com, visit their site to find out more. But the first thing we're going to want to do is to get started with Wix. So if you click the link below in the description, you can have a look and see how you can get started with Wix today. And you can use our link there to sign up and get a Wix account. So when you land on the Wix site, you're going to want to click on Get Started and fill out the very basic details to get set up. Now, everything we're going to do in this video today and in the next couple of videos in this series, we're going to do for completely free. There won't be any charge. So as I said, when you're watching this video, pause it now, go down to the link in the description, click on the link and sign up to Wix today and actually watch this video and try and do things alongside me and we'll get stuck into this. So now that you've got your website set up and you've logged into Wix, the first thing you're going to do is hit Get Started and create your first website. And that will take you to a screen that you can see now. And this is where you get started with Wix. Wix is all about trying to expand the options for you, a number of features. So to save me boring you or putting you to sleep with more talking, let's get stuck straight into this. So what we're going to do today, we're going to design a website for a coffee store. That's the example I'm going to use, but of course you can use any example that's on screen here or others if applicable. So the first thing it's going to say is, and Wix is going to start to learn how you use your system, what your business is, and this will become really important later when we get into the ADI, and we'll go through this now. So as I'm going to do a coffee store, I'm going to go with restaurants and food. Now when I select that, Wix is then going to give you two very important options. Now in this video series, we're going to go into the ADI. Now the ADI is quite simply, it's Artificial Design Intelligence. What that really means is, Wix is going to ask you a series of questions, it's going to collate or collect all that information together and then present you a website very quickly. So in all transparency, you could have a full website within the space of one day, a couple of hours, depending on how quick you are picking it up. The alternative, which we'll look at in another video series, is going to be using the Wix editor. The Wix editor is for you to pick from a series of templates, and using those templates, you can start to design and build your own website based on what's already there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit Start Now with the Wix ADI, and we're going to start going into how you can use the ADI and what it actually means. So before this video, I've prepped a series of logos, I've got my business name together, I've got some address details, and I'm going to now start populating that information in. And you'll see the first thing that when you get started with the Wix ADI is you go through this series of questionnaire. So before you even almost see your website, you'll go through a few questions. So we're going to start going through this information now together and start populating that information as we go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to type in the type of site we want to create. Now, if you have a business or a charity or maybe a hobby, you want to try and keep this as generic as possible. Wix is going to try and give you suggestions. So if there's something very specific that you do, whether it's a certain type of fitness class, or maybe it's a certain type of food or cuisine, try and keep it as generic as you can because Wix is going to use this information to help learn more. So I'm going to go with coffee. I'm going to see what comes up and you'll see some suggestions. So we have a coffee shop, so that's great. I could go with breakfast bar, I could go with a few other options, and this will start to make sense as you go through the Wix editor. So it's going to say, right, you've done your coffee shop, that's the type of store you're going to have. It's now going to give you a list of recommended features. So knowing that you're a coffee shop, or you're a store, or maybe you're a blogging website, Wix will use those features to recommend a series of features, whether that is, do you need a menu on your restaurant? Well, yes, you do. It's a coffee shop. What about a live chat? Would you like to have a live chat where customers can engage and chat to you online? I'm actually going to say no for that at the moment, and I'm going to show you that later, how we can add these back in. And that's something that is powerful to note at this stage as well. Don't feel pressured into kind of like a what's the expression? Is it a child in a sweet shop, where you just kind of see, oh my goodness, there's all these features, click, 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 click. And next thing you know, you've got this kind of initial template or initial concept with loads of things all over it. So go through this, try and be as precise as possible. Do we need a menu? Yes. Do we want an online store? I'm going to come back to that. What about online programs? No. Pricing plans, table reservations? No, that's fine. Instagram feed? Yes, actually, we do have a powerful Instagram for this, so let's do that. And that'll do for now. So let's go with next. So we've added in our features. We now want to put in the name of our coffee shop. So I'm going to go with Rise and Shine Coffee. That sounds like a great name for a business, if I say so myself. So we've got Rise and Shine. We'll keep that as generic as that for now, and we can put in our taglines and slogans and things later on. So we've got our Rise and Shine Coffee. We're going to hit next. It says, do you want to import any images or text from an existing website? So we've tried using this before in the past. It does pick up images if you have an existing website. For the purpose of this demo, I don't actually have an existing website, but if you do have a website you have in the past or you've used before, copy and paste in a link to your website, and you might actually see that Wix will pick out the images and even some of the branding from your existing website. It's quite handy to import some of the content as well as the copy, so the actual images that you have there. But for now, we're going to hit next. We're just going to skip through that, and now we're going to review and finalize our information. So the first thing you'll see is, do we have a logo? So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a logo on the screen. So in this recording, you might not see the actual pop-up, but if you're using this at home, you'll see whenever you hit that plus button, your computer will pop up. It will give you the option to select from your files the logo and any branding. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go here, I'm going to select logo, and I'm going to choose the logo that I've done before on this computer. Now stay tuned for another video where we'll look at the Wix logo maker and how you can create a logo from home. So once you've added your logo, it's actually quite important that you want to go back in here and add in the rest of the details that are on screen. This will be really important later when it comes to the actual development of your website, where every time you want to add in your address or your phone number, Wix will know what that is because of this section here. So we're going to first of all put in our email address. We're then going to put in our actual business address, and we're located in Belfast with ProfileTree. And we're also going to put in a phone number here. So in the classic sense of here's one I've done earlier, I'm just going to paste in some of those details. And then what I can also do is add in social media links. So for the purpose of this training session and video session, we're actually going to use in a separate video how to set up your Facebook account and how to set up Instagram. So we don't actually have those social accounts just now, but if we did, all we would need to do here is go to the add button, add in, and then paste in a link. So for instance, if it was our Facebook page, and as an example, I can go and grab in, well actually let's go with Twitter. I can go and grab in our URL from Twitter. So for instance, if I go to ProfileTree on Twitter, I can paste in that link, and you'll see here that as soon as I paste that in, Wix knows that's Twitter and it's going to use that. So we'll keep that on for now, just for the purpose and demonstration of this video, and let you see how that works, how you can use these social accounts, again, just to automate or optimize more of that process behind setting up your account. So let's go to the next screen, and we're going to go across. Now the first thing we see here is pick a theme you'd like, and the best way I can explain this is when you're going to maybe buy a new car, or you're getting something designed, maybe it's a new furniture for your home, you might actually get something custom designed. And normally what you'll find is a designer or a staff member will hand you a series of palettes or like swatch colors. And the same idea for Wix. You simply just want to look at these as a very top level. Don't think about it too much. Just pick out ones that you think look the best for you. I'm going to go with high rise. I think the font, the layout, it's quite nice and clean. It's also quite modern, so quirky for the coffee store. But if I was interested in any others, I can click those, hit next, and continue. So I'm going to go with high rise. We're going to select that and continue. Now again, don't worry about the colors, because this is the great reason why you want to go and get your logo done before you get started with Wix. You want to upload your logo, and that logo could be anything. It could be a photo, it could be like a cartoon vector image like you see here, anything at all. Upload it, because this is one of the great reasons about using the ADI. Wix will ask you, do you want to create a color palette from your logo? And simply it's just going to create a swatch sample based on the colors you have in your logo, which is perfect because you'll see the colors I have in my logo are yellow, white, and then almost like a slate gray. So we can use those colors. So yep, absolutely, we're going to use those. Now don't be worried because you can change your colors at any time as well later on. So once you get into the site, you can change those colors. Now this is where Wix really starts to come together. With Wix, they present you a series of concepts. So going back to that analogy of you're maybe getting something designed yourself, maybe it is a brand or a website you've done in the past, someone would have designed it for you, and traditionally you will get given starter concepts, or these concepts are there for you not as the finished product, but they're there as a sample to see, okay, which one's heading the right direction. And Wix does exactly the same thing with their ADI. They present you 3 concepts, and normally of the 3 concepts, you kind of have one that is more elaborate with the colors, shall we say. So they make use of bigger, stronger colors away from that traditional white, gray backgrounds you normally see. So you'll see that one on the left here. And really what we're looking for here is not the content or the imagery, it's the layout and structure. Like building a house, it's the framework, it's the foundation, the picture on the left, text on the right. And again, don't be alarmed, don't be worried, we can change all this later, but we want something that we can get started with, that we're comfortable with working through. So immediately, personally, I'm drawn to these 2 samples here. I like the cleanness of the white background. I think the layout, the structure is nice for my coffee store. I want to have this bold image at the top. I want to have a bit about our coffee and why we stand out, and then of course I want to have our coffee itself. So this one immediately stands out to me. However, this one's quite nice as well. It's very similar, slightly different design elements, but overall I think I'm going to go with this one here in the middle. I like the header to that traditional logo on the left, text on the right, so it's very easy for me to look at. And as I said, it's all now about getting that initial concept, getting the first stage right, and that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to say use this design. Now Wix is, again, also the whole way through, it's going to help you build your website for you. So do you want or need an about page? Yes, let's do that as well. And this is another example of similar to features where you can get almost too excited and you can click, 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 add page, add page, add page, and before you know it, the entire website's filled and all these random pages. We're going to keep our website quite clean, we're going to keep it simple, and so I'm going to focus on very basic pages, and of course we can add our own pages later. I'm going to show you how to do that. So for now, I'm just going to add in the about page and the contact page. There's nothing else I need. I don't need an Instagram page. I'm going to show you how to use a blank page later, and sourcing, that's fine. And now, top right corner this time, we're going to go to edit site. So when we click edit site, depending on your internet, Wix is going to take a few seconds. It's going to load in those pages, and now you're going to see for the first time you're looking at your new website. So straight away, without adding any text, any color, all I've done is add the logo and the text. You'll see straight away that my logo is along the top of the screen. The colors and the branding represent my logo, and they're taken from my brand. And straight away we can see a very clean, very simple structure. As we start to scroll down the page, we can see our content. Now, of course, the content is completely fake. The Instagram is fake, but we can see everything that we asked for originally. Even if we look down to the bottom to the footer, we can see our address, our contact number, and even a Google map or a map embed at the bottom of the website. So everything is set up exactly as we added it in the start stages. So this is the great thing about the ADI. So without having to be a designer, without having to know absolutely everything about user experience and where things should go or should not go, Wix has already got you to those first stages. The template has been set, and now we're going to look at how we can edit the template and make this site our own when it comes to the content, the imagery, maybe adding in video, and later we'll look at how you can possibly add in some apps or third-party options like a store that can really finesse and fine-tune your website. So just before we dive in to actually start building and editing the pages, we want to get familiar with the surroundings of Wix and be aware of the layout, the toolbars, the settings, and be familiar with how we access and move and use the site. So again, we've just set up our first Wix site using the ADI, and now we're going to get started editing the pages. But before we do that, let's look at this top bar and start to understand how we can use this throughout the site. On the left, you're going to find the page navigation. This is how you can access, manage, and edit your previous pages alongside the menu that runs along the top of your screen. So we find this in the top left. You'll find yourself wanting to use this from time to time to switch to key pages. While you're in the editor, you'll not want to use menus, about, or contact. You'll want to use the pages that are located at the top left. And what we can do, we can select that drop down. So we close that using X for now. Select that drop down from the top left. And now we can select menus, about, contact, and really navigate through all the key pages on the website. This is going to come in really handy later when we want to add in even more new pages or add in new sections to additional pages that we've had in the past. Moving across from left to right, you'll see the next section then is add. This is great if you want to add a new section to your page, or maybe you want to add a whole new page to your website. This allows you to expand very easily. You can also do all three options you can see there, whether it's adding a section, a page, or an app. You can add these at any time while you're also on the page as well. So if we wanted to add a new section on this page, we would just need to highlight, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. The next section then is very important, and that's design. Design is where, for instance, your logos, your font, and your colors would all be highlighted from here. So you'll see in the ADI, we set and uploaded our logo, and we chose the colors to be picked from our logo. However, if we wanted to change those, we could do that through here, through our colors and through our fonts, and optimize that theme to be better for your own business if you didn't like what the ADI put together for you. The next one across then is apps. So if you're using apps such as a store, maybe it's a booking system, or potentially you have some form of third party, you'll be able to use those apps through this platform here. Now do stay tuned, in another video we'll look more at apps and what some things that can be done with those, but those applications can be managed from this area as well. Two icons that are just faded ever so slightly, and you'll see those come to use ever more later on, is the classic undo and redo options. When available, they will highlight or turn to a blue shade of color, and that will allow you to undo your past options or mistakes. If you're like myself and you do quite a few and you need to go back every now and again. Do note that your classic shortcut keys on your keyboard will also work as well. So for Mac users, Command Z, for Windows users, Control Z, and you can use those as undo and redo as you go through. Wix auto saves their option, so you'll see every now and again this will rotate. You'll see maybe a wee blue bar or spinning circle to symbolize that that page or that change you've just added has been saved on your website. As we move over onto the right hand side of the screen then, the first thing you'll see here is a desktop icon. So for those users, this is an obvious one here, but it's just simply to change between desktop and mobile. So if we first of all start by selecting the drop down, you'll see we have our two options. So first of all, we have desktop, which we're on now. We can also change this then to mobile, and we'll come back to how you can edit specifically on mobile later in terms of hiding elements or resizing things. So you'll see on mobile it formats quite well. There's a couple of things I can see already look a wee bit strange, but let's come back to that and we can show you how to make those changes later on. So if we want to go back to desktop, just select the drop down arrow at the top, select desktop, and that will bring you back to the same screen. Moving across then we have help, and this is again something that I would not underestimate from Wix. Wix have a fantastic help section. Whether you're looking to, for instance, change your colors, you can type in here change colors. Wix will give you how to change those colors as well as customizing sections. So really fantastic help guide from Wix. Again, it does use their artificial intelligence to help understand what you're looking for. So if you're wanting to find out how to add an image to your website, maybe you want to add a store, do use the help section there, and that can help you find. Now, if you're unsure about anything, I encourage you to comment below. If you have any questions or you're not too sure specifically on how to do something, do comment below, and who knows, we might even do a whole video on that if enough people are interested and engaged in that comment. But for anything, do use the help section, or alternatively, as I said, you can request in the comments below, and we'll certainly have a look and see if we can help you out there. The next one then is site. Site's quite important. It's one thing I've seen a lot of people do in the past, is that when they get started with Wix, they spend so much time in the editor building their website, and then it's like, oh, how do you go back? How do you get out of this or go back to your dashboard? You'll find that in Site. If you use the drop-down menu under Site, you can go to Dashboard, and that will get you back to the home screen. We do have a few more settings in here. You can experiment in your own time. One of the ones that I use a lot alongside Undo and Redo is Site History. Site History is more, I actually haven't seen anything like this outside of Wix. You almost need to install a plugin or have some form of backup on your server as such. With Wix, they have a site history feature. Think of this as like a time capsule. Every time you hit save or publish, you can go back to your Wix website within a space of 4 or 5 days, even sometimes a couple of weeks, and you can see what changes you made in week 1 versus what you made last week. And if you needed to, if you realized, oh, I've made a big mistake, I actually would prefer the first site that I started with, you can use the site history to go back. As this is a new site, we don't have that just yet, but definitely something we can show in a later stage. You'll also then see notifications. So notifications are great for any form of engagement with your website. That might be important updates to the builder, but that also could be updates like someone has messaged you through live chat or has clicked on one of your buttons. So you'll find the notifications are a great way to be notified on any important updates, whether that's something's broken, you need to link something, or again, it's actual notifications from Wix itself. And then finally we have upgrade, preview and publish. Upgrade, at the end of this video we'll discuss Wix plans, and as I said, everything that we do in this video up until now you can do for free. You can even publish a Wix website for free using a temporary domain, and you'll see the benefits of either doing that or upgrading to plans. Now as I said, if you want to get started with Wix, I'd encourage you to go to the description below, click on the link and you can get started with Wix today for free and then go through the accounts. You also then have the option to preview your website, so preview is going to come in handy later. When we use the preview option, this is a great way of testing your website on what would actually be a website, so you're not an editor. So you can click the links, you can click the buttons and see what happens. And every time you are in the editor, you're editing the website, all of this is in editor mode. So it's not as easy to go and click the learn more button or to click the menu. As it said, it's going to edit that section. We then finally have publish. Now publish can be quite daunting for those that have kind of looked at Wix for the first time or have never used it before. When you publish a website for free, we could do this now. Wix will publish the site on what we would refer to as a temporary domain or a free domain. This allows you to send the link to maybe a friend or a family member and let them test your website and have a look at it. Because of search engine optimization reasons and your overall brand position, we wouldn't actually recommend publishing a Wix website on their free domain. It just doesn't stand out well for the credibility of your business. However, when we look at the upgrade panels, we can show you what type of packages you might need and how you can publish your website on your own domain. But this is all included in this video, so stay tuned as we go through. So now that we've went through the top section, we're familiar with the navigation of the site. The first thing you've probably wanted to do the whole time here is start editing. Click on sections, we can go into this, we can add it and add text. Wix ADI is slightly different from the Wix builder or the standard Wix editor you may have used before in the past. Now you can, for those that have used Wix before, once you've got to a certain state or you've got your position of the site set up and you're happy with where it is in the ADI, you can 100% change it over to the advanced editor later. But for the purpose of this video and this series, we're going to stay on the Wix ADI, and at a later stage maybe we'll show you how to transfer it over to the standard Wix editor that you may be accustomed with or used before in the past. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get started editing this section. So this first section to me, and while we're going through this, we'll talk about user experience, we'll talk about good techniques for design, as well as just building our site. So this first section is traditionally referred to as the hero. The hero section on your website is really important for driving conversion and initial objectives of your website. So if I'm a coffee store, then I want to be learn about our coffee, and at the same time I want to say either book a table or view our menu, because that's my core objective. That's what I want you to do as a potential customer of mine when you land on my website. So this design, that's okay. Let's have a wee look and see what options are available. So Wix gives you two options along the top of the screen. We have edit and we have design. Edit is simply if we want to edit what's already here. So we want to change, for instance, our title. We have a fantastic title in there for Rise and Shine, so that's the name of our coffee store. We also then have the ability to add subtitles and paragraphs. Now you'll notice here is when you highlight over this, it says the item is hidden. And if you move your way over to the right hand side here, you'll see it says click to show. And that click to show, just on the right hand side of that pop out tab, will allow you to actually turn on or turn off a subtitle. And that can be used for displaying custom text, as well as the actual subtitle of or a tagline of your business. So that title, subtitle, and paragraph can all be turned on or off just by clicking the radial dot or the circle at the end of that paragraph. So what we're going to do here is we're going to turn those on for now, and we're going to change our subtitle to our business tagline, which is just breakfast, coffee, pancakes, which is very appropriate for an early morning when I'm recording this video. So we'll put that in. So breakfast, coffee, pancakes, that's our tagline. And then we also have the ability to put in paragraph. And that paragraph can really just be a description into the website. It could just be an intro section. I'm going to turn that off for now because I don't want the user having too much text that hits them on screen. But at the same time, I do want to give them an overview on that page there and how they can see their content. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at how we can replace or edit the image. But just before we do that, let's actually have a look at the design section, because at this stage I'm not quite 100% sure yet if this is the right design for me. So what we'll do now is we'll click on design and we'll have a look at different options. So you'll notice that I've added my text, I've added our title, we've added our subtitle, and we've still got our button there, which we'll come back to. But now that we click on design, on the left hand side you have a series of options. Everything from adding this almost overlay where there's this kind of translucent box, right down to changing the entire window here where you can see big text along the top and the image underneath. Now you'll notice in some of the options here that the colors aren't maybe exactly as you want them. Maybe the font size is too big or too small, and we're going to show you how to make those changes. We can change those, of course, and we can optimize those and increase the font size and so on and so forth, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But I'm going to go down through these few samples. I'm going to try and see if there's anything that we like there. And actually, in reviewing this, I think the first one that we had, or something similar to what we can see on screen here, actually was the nicest. So let's actually go back to that. Let's go right back. We'll use that design that's there, and once again we'll go back to edit. So when we're in the edit section, we've done our title, we've added our subtitle, we're now going to change our images. Now, images are really important within Wix. Wix have a fantastic media library that can be used free of charge. So first of all, you need to be aware is that there's two sections within Wix. There's the Manage section, which is traditionally it's your own content, and then there's also Explore, which is third party, normally copyright free, and ultimately on occasion free from Wix to use. So it's completely suitable for your use. I'm going to get started with showing you how to manage your own site files. Site files are a great area for you to be able to manage your own images or your own documents. So you can also upload menus through PDFs, you can also upload images and even video into Wix. And it's very simple to get started with adding images from your computer. So all we're going to do here is we're going to left click on Upload Media. That's going to allow you to choose where your images are coming from, whether it's from your Instagram, from your Facebook, maybe you have a Google Photos account and you can connect those across. I've saved my images locally on my computer. So I'm going to hit Upload from my computer, and I'm going to find our folder here and select and upload those images. Now in the screen recording that we're using here, you might not see those, but this will give you an example of when you do click on this, it will give the option to open your own computer files. And now we're going to upload 3 or 4 images just to let you see how it works with using the Wix image library. So now that we have our 4 images uploaded into the Wix media library, you'll see here under Manage again, we've got our 4 images that we've added. These images in particular were sourced from Pexels, so it's another copyright-free image website you can use. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a few seconds to show you the Wix media library itself. Wix have a fantastic tool that they call Wix Studio, and the Photo Studio is a great way not only for you to use a traditional media library. So again, if you've ever used a website before like WordPress, you'll find you have limited access to maybe editing, cropping, and adjusting some basic settings. Within Wix, however, and their media library, you have the ability, first of all, to rename the image. So let's go with the second one here, and we can call this Coffee Glass. We'll give it really simple naming conventions. First of all, this by naming the file name, this is really helpful for your organization, just to kind of keep an idea of what images are called, what you've labeled things, but it can also help with your search engine optimization as well. Traditionally, you'll hear another term being used, which is alternative text or alt tags. We'll go into that later in more videos about how to optimize your website for SEO, but it also looks at now the file name too. So we put in coffee glass, it's a great way of keeping that organized. And then underneath we have a series of actions such as crop, edit, adjust, create a video, cut out background. We're not going to go into detail on all of these sections now, but to get started with, we're going to have a look at crop, adjust, and video for now. Now both are in the same section, so if we go to crop and edit, what this is going to do, it's going to open the Photo Studio. So straight away you're going to see that Wix have a series of editing tools and elements that you can use to optimize your content. So let's have a look here, first of all, at the first one, which is crop and resize. So quite simply, if we wanted to crop and edit in, we can just drag in from the corners. We can get the positioning right, so we've got that cut out the background there. We can also rotate the image, so we can skew that by a certain degree if we wish, just by dragging up on the right hand side of the screen there, so you'll see those numbers on the right. We also then have the ability to set an aspect ratio, so if there's a certain framing or a size ratio that we want to use, we can use that. And of course we can resize an image to a certain width and height if you have been given specifics to that. We're going to revert to the original for now and bring that back. In the same way we use on the likes of Instagram, we also have the ability to add filters and adjust those images, whether that's in change colors, adjust the brightness, the contrast, shadows. We can do all of that through the back-end Photo Studio. And one of the best things that I've found with the Photo Studio in Wix is the ability to add elements. Let's say, for an example, there's something that you'd like to do in Wix. It's not working for you in the text editor, but you would like to add image in a certain area. Then you can actually do that here through the add element. You can choose your font type, you can add in your text. You can click and drag it freely around the page. Now this is probably not as advised for search engine optimization. It's not normally good practice to put text on top of an image, but if there's something that you want to do, maybe it's a promotional image, maybe it's like a 50% off, and you want to put this big bold imagery across your page, you can certainly do that through this section here. And you can resize it, you can position it, and as I said, there's a lot of styling for that, but it's a great tool that you're able to do all of this inside that library. So I'm going to cancel that for now, I'm just going to go back out to where we were before, and that'll take us back to the site files. So as I mentioned, going back to what we were editing before, which was that hero banner image, we want to change that background image, what was originally there. So I'm going to choose one of our own images that we've set up. We have one here of the coffee being poured into the shape of the flower, so that's great. So let's go to apply, and we're going to add that image. Now the Wix ADI is going to add that image to the background of the page. Now in the example is, if Wix found that there was an image that wasn't suitable for use, whether it maybe for instance it was too big, too small, or maybe the colors in the image just didn't work, what Wix will actually do, Wix will change the section design automatically, and that's part of the ADI. It's not just the questionnaire and the samples that you got started with earlier and then that's the ADI done, it doesn't work anymore. The ADI is constantly with you as you're going through the site, and that's everything from adding in images, maybe even text. So you'll see here, for instance, if we wanted to change, let's say, the color of the rise and shine, so we can see the milk coming through the S, can be a wee bit hard to read. The breakfast, coffee and pancakes is pretty much invisible at this stage. So let's go to this. And what you'll see when you highlight or you put your mouse on top of rise and shine, you'll see here underneath this small blue box appears for title. So we're going to put our mouse on top of title, and you'll actually see here straight away we have the ability to edit the text first of all, and that will just bring us back to the same editor we had before. We have the ability to change the colors, and again, this is where our theme colors come in. You can see how we used these earlier to adjust the website. And you can also see that there is actually a warning as such, or a notification from Wix that says, look, this text isn't actually that readable, being white, maybe you want to change it. So we can try something like our yellow, see how that works. That's quite hard to read as well. So we can have a look at different options. But ultimately, one of the things I might want to do here is adjust actually the image itself. So I like the image, I like the position where it is, but maybe it's actually just image color. Maybe I could do something what we would refer to as an overlay to adjust. So what we're going to do this time is, you'll see when we are in the editor, we can do a couple of options. We can just left click on the image itself, anywhere in the image actually, or we left click up here at the top, and that will open this setting on the left hand side. If we wanted to get the same area, we could also go to settings where we had replace image earlier, click on settings, and that will take you to the same area. So straight away, we could actually change the image type. So for the first time, if we decided we actually wanted to have a slider in here, maybe like a gallery, where we have multiple images rotating through, then we could choose gallery, and we could organize our media by gallery. We could also choose video if we want to have some form of motion in here in the background. So you'll see there is a video there. And just for a second, Wix will adjust. You'll see it doesn't look the right size. It's not stretched across. Wix will adjust that. It's just the ADI putting in something as what we call a placeholder. So it's just to let you see how it looks. That's not a video I've uploaded. And then finally you have patterns. Now patterns are a great way of putting in, for instance, an image. And if you have a lot of text, the pattern can just help break the image and the background. We're going to keep it clean and simple for now, and we're going to stay with image. Now image allows us again to change the opacity of the image, so how clear is it to see, as well as that we can also change the color behind. So now by putting a color behind the image, in this case it's our slate gray, we could use yellow or white or gray, but by putting a color behind the image we can actually tone down the opacity of the image, and now you'll see that as that image becomes more translucent, or ultimately on the way to transparent, we can see how much better that looks now, with the rise and shine being very clear and easy to see. And if we wanted to take this a step further, we can go back to our text, we can go to title, and we can go to edit, and let's see if we have other options here. So again, we can change our text, we can make this possibly bold, add subtitles to it, so underneath here, we can add a bit of bold to the text. That will just help those pop a wee bit more. And again, we'll come back later to our design sections, and we can even look at adding a bigger font size to this. So I'm quite happy with that top section. The last thing that I want to do is add more buttons in here. So we have one button at the moment that says learn more, and that's fine, that's okay. But I definitely want one button that says view now. So underneath here, you'll see add button. So we're gonna hit this, we're gonna left click on add button, and we're gonna change this to view menu. And when we click on view menu, you'll see straight away we have learn more, we have view menu. And again, we have a similar problem here where we can see Wix, the ADI is trying to style those buttons, but it's actually very hard to see the two buttons. Both are using the slate gray that we've used underneath, so we're going to need to change the design. But we have our two buttons and we have our link. Now where does that link go and how do we adjust it? So we want to view the menu. So when we click link, we first of all can choose it to go to a page. So if we had a page for our menu and we do that, so we have menus, so we can select menus from there. And where do we want it to go on that page? Then we can choose whether it's the menu or just the top of the page. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to go with top of page. I'm going to hit done. We're actually going to change our other menu, or our other button, sorry, that says learn more. We're going to change that to book now. And when you hit book now, I actually want that to call I want that to call a contact number. So we're gonna hit phone, and we're just gonna put in here a blank UK number. So +44, and then I'll just put in a series of, I'll make it up as we go along. Perfect, and we'll hit done. So what's going to happen here is that if a customer hits book now and they're on a mobile device, or if they're on a desktop and they have something like Skype or Zoom installed, it'll actually try and use that to phone that number. And this is really prominent for mobile devices, where on your mobile phone, if you click a contact number, it will actually open the dialer on your phone, and it will allow you to ring that number directly from the website. So it's a great feature, a great tip to be aware of when you're adding contact numbers and email links to your website. So now that we've done book now and we have view menu, I do want to adjust the colors here slightly. So we're going to use that pencil button. We're just going to highlight the cursor. We're not going to left click, but we're just going to highlight with our mouse the blue buttons section. And we're going to change the color here. Let's go with the yellow. And you can see here, book now, that's much clearer. Can we change this other one? Most of the buttons both have to be the same. So we choose white, you'll see they'll both change to that. So let's go with white for now. And we can see we have our rise and shine, breakfast, coffee, pancakes, our book now, and our view menu. So straight away, you can see within a couple of minutes, and I've spent a bit more time going through the media library, how easy it is to edit and add a new section. And one of the best things about the Wix ADI, and it's a case of this, I like to explain this as rinse and repeat. Once you've done it once, all of the sections follow the same formatting. So if we want now to edit the next section down, which is traditionally your About Us, so about our coffee, we can go down here, we can add in a title, we can add a subtitle, and we can add in an image. Maybe this time we'll click settings and we'll change it to a video instead. Let's say for an example, as a business, we have a corporate video that we want to use. So we could of course replace that. Again, we can use video or images from Wix. So once again, as always, Wix have a fantastic video library as well as images. So we could go in here and we could choose, instead of going to manage, and this time we had our own video, we could actually try and use a video from Wix. So under Explore, go to Media from Wix. And at the top here, we're going to search for coffee, and you'll see here there's a series of videos. Now, if we just keep our cursor on top of this, it'll play a short preview clip. So you'll see here the barista making coffee, and that's again that flower. It's a fantastic video, we can use that. Or again, if we had our own video, we could upload that from media. So I'm going to just choose this one for now. Actually, I just realized we have a flower at the top already, so it's maybe too much. So we'll go with takeaway coffee. We'll use this video here of the customer collecting the coffee cup, and we'll hit apply. And that's going to add that video in here. It'll take a few seconds, and that allows you to set that up. So now we have our About Us section. Again, if we wanted to edit this, we can click on Edit, we can go to the paragraph, and we can change our copy. So we can change all the content to be our own. And we've got that content in. For now, and the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to leave that content the way it is. But if I wanted to, I could go in here and either copy and paste from another source if I have my website already, or maybe I've typed things up in a Word document, or alternatively, I can just go in here and type freely and delete what's already there. But you'll see straight away that section was very easy to change. I liked the layout, it was clean, it was simple. We had About on the left, we had our image on the right, and all we've done here is change the video to be on the right hand side of the box. So far we have kind of our logo along the top, we've got our menu, our rise and shine, we have our About Us, and we have our video. So let's use preview for the first time. Let's see how this looks. So we haven't really seen the video playing, we're not too sure. So straight away we have our rise and shine coffee. As we scroll down, we get a nice wee effect there, what's called a parallax, where the image is locked in place, and as we scroll down, it kind of goes over the top of the coffee cup. We have our book now, so if we click that, you'll see on my screen, you might not see it in the recording, but there's a pop-up that says make a call from the software. So I have Zoom installed on my computer, so we'll try and use Zoom. And if I clicked on view menu, that would take me to the menu page. Now, as I scroll down, and even before I was scrolling down, you'll see that video playing in the background. Now, on the recording or in the software we're using to make this training video, you might see it's a wee bit jittery. That's just because of the recording software we're using here, but you'll notice that video is auto-playing in the background. That's a nice subtle effect, and as the user scrolls down, you'll see some content that we just haven't got to just yet. So let's now go back to Edit Site at the top left-hand corner and left-click there, and that'll bring us back to the editor. So once we've done the editor, you'll now start to see how elements of the page come together. And our collection looks great. I actually really like that. I don't know if I need to change it too much, but it is important that I show you this section. So far, everything really has been exactly the same. When we click on Edit, we have our title, subtitle, paragraph. If we want to click, show, the ability to change our image or add a video, and add buttons in some areas. So again, if we did the same About Us, we have the ability to click and turn off or turn on buttons, as well as subtitles and paragraphs and so on and so forth. But this section down is referred to what's called a list item or repeater field. And when you have list items, and think of this as your traditional services, so if you offer a website that has consultancy services, you have training services, and maybe you have content writing services, you might want to list those items as 3 columns or list them in a vertical alignment. Well, Wix has a fantastic feature for that, and you'll see underneath here you've got the same style layout before. So we've got our title, subtitle. This time we have a description. If we were to turn that on, it's going to be a small box that appears up here, and we can see that highlighted just in the blue there. We also have the ability to add more media. So if we wanted to add a big image to the top of this, or add buttons that allow you to kind of read more, we can do that. But most importantly, and this is where this comes in, is we have our core items, our list items. So list items can be, first of all, arranged by the template that you can see here. So again, the power of the ADI is that you're able to obviously have this all done for you before you can get started. This is a great template for you to get started from. So if there's things here, for instance, like Colombian blended espresso beans, we can go in here, we can left click on the edit button, so the pencil tool that appears there, and we can change the name. So we can change that to any form of coffee. I'm going to make it really basic, really simple. I'm just going to change it to a latte. So we have our latte coffee in here. We've got our price. So again, we can put an actual price here if we wish. So we can say our coffee is going to be pretty expensive, and we're going to go with pounds. So $8.99 for our coffee. We could put in a description underneath, and we'll leave it as is for there. Now you'll notice there's an issue here with the colors. So you'll see my description is actually on, but as always, you'll see that the colors that were used here actually burn it out, so we can't even see it. So let's have a look at that. And then finally we have button. So we do want to have a button. It's important, I think, to have a call to action. If you have a section on your website that is giving the user information and it's giving them an instruction, you do want to have some appropriate call to action that says buy now, read more. And so we're going to go with buy now. And I don't actually have a store on this page. So at the moment, this is just a simple static list item. So let's go back. So we've done that. We can go and edit the other options as well as editing the pictures if we wanted to. So again, if we were going to edit, we could again change the image by hitting replace. Let's leave that for now. And we can do the same for the others. So again, we go to edit. We can change that to, let me see, Micano. I think that might be the completely wrong way to spell that, but we can put in here absolutely anything at all. So if we go with, let's go with flat white. Trying to keep this as basic as I can. Our flat white's going to be cheaper than a latte, actually, surprisingly this time, so let's go $4.99. Our description, we'll leave that as it is. Our image, yes, let's replace that. And we'll go with site files. We'll choose an image that we had before. So actually, let's use one of the images from Wix. Go back to coffee. You can choose one of our coffees. Select an image here. Let's choose this one, coffee on the table. And again, I'm just doing this for quickness, just to let you see what can be done. So we'll set in our image. We've got our coffee on the table, so our latte, our flat white, and our triple blended coffee beans. Let's leave that as it is. Actually, that works well. So as I mentioned, the first thing we need to be aware of is the design of this section. So we have our color doesn't really adjust here. So first of all, let's check the design. So I do actually like the 3-column layout. I think it works well. I think it's clean, it's easy. And as we look at almost that, what we call visual hierarchy. So this is how you are reading this website, or how potential customers are reading this website. When you read it from top to bottom, you want to always say in the hero section, the banner at the top, here's what I want you to do, so objective. So within a second of looking at the site, I want you to either buy now, I want you to read more. That's the call to action you'll hear us referring to a lot. The About Us section is very important for me anyway. I want to sell what my coffee is. What's my USPs? Why does my coffee stand out versus someone else? Traditionally, when you go into a store like Starbucks, you'll go onto that website and you'll see its product straight away. But I want to show my value first, so our value proposition is about us and why we're so unique, and then I go into the products and the collections. So this layout's quite nice because it presents a kind of an even hierarchy. You can see here there's other options to list vertically, so if you'd prefer that type of odd even listing down, so you've got image on the right, image left, text right, so on and so forth. And again, we can change those. We can really fine tune what works well for us. So here you'll see is a better option for me maybe, where we have 3 columns, we have all the colors are aligned to the same, and we've got the text underneath. So that works well. We could again take a step further and customize that. So we can go to color. We can see if there's different color options. So now we had that color option before where the text was that navy. This one works much better because it still keeps the color, keeps that vibrancy to the site, but now I still have the white background. And you'll see that I'm not actually having to go in and change colors manually. I'm just seeing what options are available almost in a way like picking a series of palettes or concepts and then click on what one I find the best. So for me, that works the best. I'm just going to make a quick wee change here and make this all consistent. So instead of price, where they have a bit of text, and you'll see Wix is showing you as well, is that these, what Wix is referred to as these custom fields, you can change this. You don't have to put in a price. You can put in absolutely anything at all there, as long as it's a text-based element, and then change that around. So we'll just put in, again, quite expensive coffee beans. We'll go $11.99, and we'll keep our content there, and we'll change our other button to say buy now. Now, one thing you'll notice is that as I've created these 3 product pages and I've put these appropriate links at the bottom, I haven't actually linked anywhere yet. I haven't linked to a page, I haven't linked to an email box. One thing we'll discuss later is maybe adding what's called a light box. A light box is like a pop-up on a website. So if we wanted to have a buy now and it pops up and it asks you for your name, your phone number, your email address, we could do that. We'll have a look at that later. But ultimately, at the moment, it doesn't actually do anything. There's no shop, and we will add stores to the website soon enough. But we might want to actually create a whole page for our, let's go back to our latte. So if we go to our latte and we want to create a whole page for this section, well, Wix is quite smart to this. It knows that you might want to create a page specifically for this item. So underneath here, it says create a page from this item, and we can left click on that. Wix will take a few seconds. It will now create you a whole new page for that. So for our latte coffee, it creates a page. It uses the same image we had before. It uses the same text, the price, the call to action, and now we can actually expand on this. We can add in new sections. So I'm not going to give away too many spoilers and come back to adding sections just yet, but this is to show you how you can use this to further optimize the page and even create sub pages as you're going through the actual process. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the home page, and we're going to finish our home page before we close out on this first video and before we move on to how to edit or how to do more advanced settings within Wix. So now that we've got our collections, we've got our about, we've got our bar, our hero image, we're now going to want to add something that feels missing from the website, and that is testimonials or credibility. So if you think of that strategy behind this page, again, we have our objective, we have what the call to action is, we have about us, we have our services and our coffees. But one thing I feel that we're missing before we start to ask people to come and visit or check us out on Instagram, we're missing some good comments or reviews. So the first time now, we're going to add a section. Now, as we discussed at the very start of this video, we have multiple options to do this. So first of all, we have add, where we can go to add at the top and we can add a section to this page. Or what I found to be the easiest is if we are wanting to add in a section in between 2 other sections. So this blue highlighted area you'll see on screen now, this blue highlighted area is referred to as a section. And then this underneath, this second blue highlighted area is also a section. So we can add a section by hitting the add new section here. That's the plus buttons that appear either side, so top or bottom. And we're going to go in here now and we're going to hit add new section here. Now when we add in that new section, it's just like adding a new page or a new tab to the website. What Wix is going to do, it's going to give you a series of templates that you can use. These templates are suitable for you to test and trial out. So for instance, if there's a certain section you were wanting to add and it was simply just text, then on the left hand side here, you could choose text from this list, and Wix once again will give you a palette, it will give you a concept that they think works well, and then you pick one that works best for you. I'm specifically looking for testimonials, so I'm going to go down here and where we can see testimonials, and I'm going to left click on that. And now Wix is going to give me some options to use. First of all, I've got a slideshow, and you'll see this one rotates through, so that's kind of nice. It also works well with a color palette. We have 3 columns, so we have testimonials that have a box for each. That also looks quite nice. And then we have the same with some photos or headshots. And again, we can play around with these options. We can see what works best for us. I'm going to start with the slider. I think 3 columns would be nice, but I have 3 columns here, so it's just going to be 3 columns upon 3 columns. Might be a wee bit hard on the eye. So let's go with the slideshow for now, and all we're going to do is we're going to click add this section. So when we do that, give Wix a few seconds, it's going to add that section to the page, and now you'll see we have our section here. Now once again, similar to the list items, we have our slideshow items, and we can edit each one by one by left clicking, changing the name of the actual user, and also the ability to turn off the image. Now again, Wix works really well for this, as if you turn off the image on one, it normally will give you the option to turn off that image on them all, and that again is for consistency. It would look very strange if you had 2 with images and 1 without. So by turning off the image on one, you are consistently applying that same styling the whole way across. So if you change to a different slide, after that, it will turn that image off or back on again, depending on the settings. So I think that works quite well. Again, it's all part of the ADI taking effect, and that allows you to create those testimonials for each as you go through. And you can see, again, I'm not going to bore you to death by going through all of this in detail, but you can see it's exactly the same process as before. That rinse and repeat, as I mentioned, where you have the ability to turn on or off the title, the subtitle, if you want to have testimonials along the top, or if you wanted to change the design. If, for instance, you like the idea of having the carousel, but you weren't fussed about the colors, so let's go to Customize, Color, and we can see different options or variations, whether it's, for instance, a white, and we break that kind of color background and go with a white background, or we use one of the grays or the navies that we had from our palette earlier. Now, just as I mentioned, up until now, we haven't done anything with font size, we haven't done anything with the color or the theme settings. So what we're going to do, now that our website's starting to fall together, it's the right structure, we probably still want to kind of add some sections, maybe delete some sections. I'll show you how to delete a section in just a moment. But generally, we're heading the right direction. Everything's landed together nicely. I want to make a few more tweaks and changes, but ultimately it's there. So what I'm going to start with now is looking at design. So design, as I mentioned before, is something you might want to do at the start, but you can do it at any time, and that's the beautiful thing about Wix. Unlike Wix and Shopify and WordPress and a lot of these online website builders that you may have had experience with in the past, you have different ways and processes in which you have to do certain things. If it's on WordPress, traditionally you set up your theme styling and most of your elements will follow that. However, there's some headings, there's some pages that will be quite unique. And if you change the theme later, those will still retain their old styling. Wix is great on this sense because if you change the theme to anything, so if we wanted to go really diverse and go with this horizon theme, it'll even change the colors, the fonts. You'll see it does it for everything. Even our background gradient, our about us, you might not like the colors it's chosen, but it will put everything in there for you. So you can see straight away, it allows you to go back. Now we can go through all these themes and find things that work for us between a really kind of dynamic pulse theme, it really changes the color, really diversifies, actually looks quite nice. And we'll have endless options to go back and forward between those themes. Now, when we find a theme that we like, we can go down to Customize, we can choose colors, and now we can start to edit the theme color. Now this again is where Wix will provide you a series of palettes. Now if we like the font that they've used here, we like the styling, we could actually still retain our own logo palette, which is here. So you'll see that palette's there, and it'll bring that back. So it keeps that really subtle use of the palette, keeps it really clean, quite simple, the font works well, and now we can change the color mode. The color mode is where we first looked at in the concepts, where we have that kind of dark and more vibrant version, as well as the mix, where you have a blend of both. We've got a bit more color rather than that light background. I'm gonna stay with the light for now, but it's just to show you the level you could take it if you wanted to change the site. And you can even go as far as changing the main or the primary color that's used, along with actually editing your own palette. If you wanted to add in your own colors to this, you could change each of these and that would reflect on the theme. So it's really fun to be able to almost build your website first, in my mind, and then change the theme afterwards to find one that works for you. You'll see now is that now you have your site built, it's your own website, the theme becomes so much better. You can get a very clear picture of what's actually changing, where traditionally, and the way you would normally build websites is if you did the theme at the start, it's not really until later you might find it too late and you're suddenly went, oh no, I really should have changed this theme. Now you can change it right at the end and watch everything else change all around you. Of course, I want to go back now, so I'm going to use the undo button. So I want to go back to what we had before. I might need to do this a few times, but ultimately I will be able to go back to our original theme and make use of that. So let's kind of go back a few times. Let's get the theme that we had before. Let's get our palette we had. There was some nice options in there, but bear with me. I'm just going to go through this and I'll go and undo and be right back. So now that we've undoed quite a bit back, we've now returned to what we had before, which was our original high-rise and our own logo palette. You'll notice though again that as we've been going through the website and we kind of go into each section, the text can seem quite small. So there's two reasons for that. First of all, one, when you're in the editor, you'll find that everything is slightly reduced. This is to get the most of the website into this frame that you can see on the screen, and then still allow options on the left-hand side and the right-hand side for Wix to pop out with the editors. So things will feel a wee bit smaller than what they actually are. The best way to truly test this is to use the preview option as much as you can. You'll get a much bigger feel for the content and what size it's going to be. The second option could also be on my end. I use a probably an overkill for most devices, but I use a 5K iMac, so it's quite a high resolution. So it does make a lot of the text look quite small. But if we still wanted to take this a step further, if we wanted to edit our font size, once again, go to design at the top left-hand side of the screen, just highlight your cursor over that and it'll drop down. When you see the options here, you'll see themes, colors, fonts, animation, page designs. we're going to go to fonts. Now when we're in fonts, naturally here you can change the font style that you use. So for instance, when we looked at the themes, you'll notice the theme was changing that color. Not the color, well, it was changing the color, but it can also change the font style as well. We could change that ourselves too. So if we like, for instance, the Soho font, we could change that font. That would change, but not affect the color or the palette. So we can take that and we can play around with different options that's there. I'm going to bring it back to high rise just for now to let you see that styling. But you'll notice as you select each font, underneath is a slider for size, and you can go right the way from tiny to huge. And when you let go, so let's set it to large. When you let go, give it a few seconds, and you'll notice your font size starts to increase. Now again, as we're in the editor right now, don't judge it based on this, because this will condense down, as you see, this big massive gaps right and left hand side of the page. This is just like you see as much of the website as possible. It's not until you go to preview that you get a much better sample for that large font. So you'll see now the rise and shine is that large. It's actually broken into 2 lines. Our font size underneath, our about text is quite large, and our collection. So you can see how that change can really affect the overall site. So it's really important that you play around with the editor, you use the preview, and you go back and forth. But again, as ever, the wonderful thing here is it's so easy to make those changes, to go back and forth and get that as refined as possible before you take it to the next level. There's also other options for animation. Animation is a great way of kind of playing with the site in a more detail, whether that's slide in certain elements. So you'll see here, if you highlight over these different things, slide, they fly, they can fold in, float in, and this allows you again to play with the styling. So if we set slide, we're going to go to preview, and when you preview the page, what you'll find is as you start to scroll down, things slide in or fade in. So you'll see here about us, our text underneath for flat white, it's all fading into play. Again, the recording or the screen recording software we use might not do this justice, but you'll see as you scroll down, all the content is starting to fade into the site. So just before we finalize and we actually publish this page and talk about the packages, the last thing we're going to want to do is go back to our edit section. So just left click, you'll see it zooms you back in and you can start to edit. What we're going to want to do now is actually delete a section for the first time. So at the start of this video, when we were setting up the features, I originally wanted to use Instagram. We're going to come back to that and we're going to show you how to set up your own Instagram channel. But what I want to do for now is actually want to delete a section. So we've talked about adding a section using the plus buttons, but what about delete? So the whole way through this, you would have seen that we've always had 2 buttons that traditionally we have edit and design. If it's something like Instagram or if it's a shop, there might be more advanced settings, it might be manage in here, but ultimately there's always 2 buttons in here. You'll notice though that there's actually a third, and it's a smaller button on the right hand side with 3 dots. Those 3 dots are universal. You'll see it generally on your web use, but Wix makes use of these 3 dots everywhere. Those 3 dots are more settings or advanced settings. So you'll see here underneath the 3 dots, if we highlight it, again, you don't need to left click, but just highlight, we have duplicate, move to, and delete. So if we wanted to clone a section, duplicate it, and have it in twice, we could just hit duplicate. If we wanted to move this to a different page, so we wanted to put this Instagram section on our contact page or maybe a dedicated Instagram page, we could do that. Or finally, we could delete that section. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to left click on delete. I'll say, are you sure? We're going to delete, we're going to remove that section, and it'll close up that gap for you. So it works well. Again, as I said before, it keeps the theme, the ADI looks after the general styling. So ultimately you can use the entire website top to bottom and edit it all within the space of an hour or 2 and have almost a homepage in this case done. So the last section then is our content box. So again, we're going to edit on that. We're just going to left click and you'll see automatically it opens up on the left hand side. You'll see as ever we have our rinse and repeat of our turn on, turn off. So we can turn off and on contact details, map locations. We could even turn off the entire map if we wanted to. Again, being a coffee store, in reality, we probably would want to do that. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I actually want to show you the form. Wix forms are something that connects into Wix on the back end of the site. And like any contact form on a website, you can edit that form. The form has a series of settings and fields. So you'll see here, for instance, if we left click on the form, you get this option on the left hand side again. So just to take a step back, down here along the bottom, edit, and you'll see that just here on the left hand side of the screen under address, we have form. I've just turned it off there. And if we turn it back on again, we have form. And beside that, we have edit. So we're going to left click edit on the form. That's then going to pop out here on the left hand side and you're going to see a series of options. So first of all, we have the form field. So name, email, phone, address, subject, and message. Well, straight away, I don't need an address for this. This is a generic contact form. So we're just going to have delete. Name, email, phone, subject, and message. I don't need a subject either, so again we'll hit the settings cog and we'll delete. And we will replace message with, no, we'll leave that as it is. So we have name, email, phone, and message. I do want to keep a phone number, I think it's required, so let's hit settings there, and we can hit the restart, it says make required. And just to show you how it can be done, let's edit the message field. So we're going to hit the gear cog, we're going to hit edit, and then here you can see the title, so we can give that a different title if we wanted to call that and leave a note or anything at all. And we can also put in placeholder text. The placeholder text is what you see here where it says type your message in here and then the 3 ellipses after that. So we can go back, we can check out our form, and we can add in new fields if we wanted to. So we can add in a new field, we could choose from a list here. So again, if we're using, and if you ever see this this almost purple crown, that's upgrade. So if there's anything there that flags out that you can't do for free, Wix will make you aware of it anyway. But as you can see, the majority of things here you can use. So we can choose phone number again, address, date. We could allow someone to upload or select different items. So we're going to leave that as it is for now. So name, email, phone, leave a note, that's great. And our submit button is fine. Now then what we can do is we can go to form settings. Now form settings allows you to connect this. So first of all, it says send email notifications to. So we're going to set up our email notifications. We can set it to go to one of our own email addresses. So let's go with ProfileTree.com. And we can also create a different contact form. So you can call this homepage contact form. And then finally, we can create what's called a submissions table. Now this is something that you'll see in our later videos when we discuss the Wix Ascend package, or we discuss Wix in further detail on how the back end of the site works. But in this session, it's always been about getting started with the ADI, how to go in and add sections, go into editing pages. And in the next video, we're going to look at how you can add new pages and even go as far as adding apps to your Wix website. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as comment any questions that you have, and stay tuned for us uploading our next videos. In our next videos, we're going to discuss the Wix store, how to add apps, as well as getting you started yourself with Wix. So don't forget, you can also follow along with us by clicking the link below in the description to set up your own Wix account. And if you do have any questions, don't be afraid to pop into the comments below, and we'll be chatting to you all soon. Thanks now, bye.